Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
War crime allegations, sick and twisted, Supreme Court knockout, fifth generation warfare. Wow, we're just getting started. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman. This is the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live. So much to discuss, so little time to discuss it, ladies and gentlemen. But it all starts now as we promote God, family, and country and tell the tale of liberty everywhere we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's who we are. That's what we stand for, and that will not change. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. America should be a light on a hill, preaching the mission of the Savior Jesus Christ, following the Prince of Peace. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. But man, it's getting hot. That's for sure. Trump threatens to destroy Iranian infrastructure, bridges, power plants, oil facilities, bring it to the brink of destruction, send it to the last century, whatever you want to call it. Very dangerous. Faces war crime allegations over it. And that's kind of the question is, the World International Court already said that Benjamin Netanyahu is involved in war crimes, but, we don't believe in the WTO, the World International Court in the United States, right? We believe in sovereignty. President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu really taking action. They've been bombing, even before the deadline tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time. But now Trump threatens to destroy Iranian infrastructure, and they say he faces war crime allegations. President Trump issued this threat to demolish power plants, bridges, if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened immediately. There's legal experts saying there's potential war crimes possible, violations of, quote, international law. But what is international law, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to United States sovereignty? Pardon the pun, but who trumps who, right? Does U.S. sovereignty trump international law, or does international law trump U.S. sovereignty? I submit to you that U.S. sovereignty trumps international law. That's right. Anyway, on the other side of the coin, Iran, sick and twisted, writes the Gateway Pundit. Iran urges children to form, quote, human shields at power plants as regime prepares for Trump strike. Wow, thegatewaypundit.com. I don't even know how to handle all this, folks. I don't believe in destruction of life. I get that war is a real thing. I get that sometimes war is a necessary thing. I get that in the United States, the rule of law is that you need to go to Congress for a war declaration, or even for mark and reprisal. Go study it if you don't believe me. That's a congressional responsibility, not a presidential one. Although Congress over the last many years has been derelict in their duty, to say the least. And it's a serious, serious issue. The problem is Trump's already decided to go to war, and we're already there. Trump says the objectives are clear. I don't really believe they're clear because I don't know what the objectives are. Is it bomb them into oblivion? Is it to kill innocent children? Well, innocents may be surrounding some of these power plants, right? Human shields at power plants, what's that about? Are they innocent? Well, if they're surrounding the power plants, they may be innocent. They may not. You say, what do you mean, Sam? They're not innocent. Well, if they're forced by the military at threat of their families, violence and death and everything else, that, how many actions do innocents take of their own free will and choice, right? So the battle's on between Trump and the throwdown's there. The question becomes, what's going to happen here? If we bomb themselves into oblivion, then will we end up being the rebuilders too? So are we going to spend just billions and billions and, well, let's say trillions, because now Trump's asking for a $1.5 trillion military budget even. Wow. Those numbers are beyond comprehension numbers. But if we're going to spend that kind of money on destruction, on bombing them back to the Dark Ages, and then we say, you know what, we'll help rebuild. I don't know how to respond to all this, folks, because Congress is on recess. And isn't Congress the check and balance our founding fathers insisted on in the supreme law of our land, which, by the way, I submit again, trumps, pardon the pun, international law? So the showdown happens. We'll see what's going to happen with this. I don't know. My prayer is that somebody has a cooler head. Somebody is able to broker a deal. Somebody is able to sit down. Maybe the Trumpster, the art of the deal maker, can make a deal and stop this. But I don't want innocents to die, whether they're, forced to create human shields around power plants. I don't know whether Trump can find a way out of this, or if he's got to deliver because he said so, and to save face, it's going to happen. I don't know all the internal details of this. Is it just bluster and behind the scenes they got a deal worked out? And they're going to really, on the international stage, benefit from, wow, we didn't have to do this, we got it solved another way? Will other countries come to the aid of President Trump in the United States and say, yes, wait a minute, we change our mind, we will help open the Strait of Hormuz? Or Hormuz, however you pronounce the thing, right? Gas prices up now, $4.14 a gallon on the average in the United States, and threatening to go much higher. Yeah, that affects you folks. You say, well, Sam, I don't even drive that much, or I don't own a car, I live in the city. I know. Everybody thinks that electric vehicles or public transportation is going to save you. No, it's not. No, it isn't. For one, how do the power plants run? Oh, Sam, they run on coal. Oh, okay. How are you going to get the coal there? Coal just transports itself, doesn't it, folks? No. Don't you have to bring coal in with what, diesel? Is that how you bring it in? How do you bring all your, goods and services down at the Chinese factory? I mean Walmart. How do you bring all that stuff there? Or to your store, to your restaurant, or to your whatever, locally? Answer, it comes by train or by truck, and it needs diesel to get there. Diesel going through the roof, even more so than the $4.14 a gallon of gas. Diesel's going up, and away. And you know what they say is next? Plastic. Yeah, they say plastic will be the next one. And what is, in our society, what's made of plastic? The answer is tons of stuff, right? So they say plastic's next. Why? Because you need petroleum, whatever you want to say, to make plastics, right? How's that going to go? President Trump putting together a deal to help farmers, putting together a deal to help small businesses, putting together deals to bail everybody and their dog out, right? Where does this go? I don't know, but this is scary indeed. Is this fifth generation warfare? Michael Flynn speaks of that, teaches of that, has written books on that, etc. He was attacked using fifth generation warfare, no doubt about it. He has been vindicated to a great degree. There's a Flynn family report that he settled a lot of the lawsuits that are going on. So good for him. Our prayers are with Michael Flynn and family, and I'm glad that he won. We don't know how much the settlement was for, but I'm just saying it's good news. Is it enough? Of course not. Never is. You get beat up and destroyed and your name dragged through the mud and everything else, and then you win a settlement. Nobody hears about that much, comparatively speaking, compared to the attacks and the derision and the falsehoods, etc. I mean, just take, for example, Rolling Stone attacking me. They lied. It's not true. None of it's true. I've taken on their reporters like nobody's business, but at the end of the day, hey, their article still is there. Yeah, a little retraction way down where you can't find it. Little truth-telling, but at the end of the day, it's still all just slander and libel. But yet, unless you're a big guy like the Donald, you can't soon win. You can't even afford it. Much less they'll just mock you and say, oh, you're nobody. And then when you get to court, they'll be like, oh, man, this guy's a rock star. This guy's an absolute celebrity. And therefore, the rules are different. Wrongfully so, but true. So you can't sue and win. But Michael Flynn stood tall and does have a settlement and a congratulations to Michael Flynn and his family. Fifth generation warfare, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, is going on all over the world. And it's bigger than the battles in Iran and whatever, Israel, United States, whatever you want to call that battle. Operation Shouldn't Have Done It is what I'm calling it. Operation Pray for Both Sides is what I'm saying. It's different than Russia, Ukraine. It's different than the U.S. versus Venezuela kind of thing, right? Fifth generation warfare is the battle for the mind, where nations, bad actors, and institutions use media, technology, cyber attacks, and psychological influence to mess with your mind. You're watching and listening to Liberty Roundtable Live.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Freewater Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Freewater, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Freewater Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Freewater Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Freewater Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement, how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Psyops and conspiracies seem to be everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Fifth generation warfare is the battle for your mind. Yeah, where nations, bad actors, and institutions use media, technology, cyber attacks, and psychological influence to shape what people believe. Yes, indeed. They divide society, and most importantly, they weaken a nation from within, folks. They don't fire a single shot when they do that either. It's called fifth generation warfare. Anyway, our prayers are with Michael Flynn and his family. He's been standing tall. So Michael Flynn won a settlement. That's good news. Patrick Byrne, our dear friend, won a settlement too. He sued Wall Street. Big deal and won. Pretty interesting. Good for him. Now it's called the Supreme Knockout. Steve Bannon, his conviction got tossed by the top court. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. That is interesting to say the least. Supreme Court annuls Bannon's contempt conviction. That's huge, folks. On April 6th, believe it or not. Wow. Isn't that like Easter? No, the day after Easter, I guess. On April 6th, 2026, the Supreme Court invalidated an appellate court decision that had upheld Steve Bannon's conviction for contempt of Congress. It was related to his noncompliance with a subpoena from the investigation into the January 6th, 2021. They call it a riot. I call it Capitol event. Okay. It was not a riot unless you count the government's part. Then you could say the government created a riot if you want to, but it was not a riot. I had friends there. They were peacefully praying. They were milling around outside. They were a humble group. They had followed President Trump's directions to peacefully go to the Capitol. They did everything they could. And then when they saw bad actors, friends of mine literally tried to stop the bad actors. Yeah. They say Oath Keepers did bad things. Oath Keepers did not do bad things. They left their guns on the other side of the river, from what I understand. And they helped a lot of Capitol Police to safety. But see, you're not told those things, folks. Anyway, so Steve Bannon didn't want to testify on some things, and so he got convicted. He went to jail. Now the headline that I created says Supreme Knockout. Steve Bannon's conviction tossed by top court. So here's my question now. Steve had to go to jail, right? Wow. Contempt of Congress. Well, so here's the question now. Is Steve going to win a bunch of money? I don't know the answer to that. I'd love to get Steve Bannon on the show and talk about this with him. I think it's a huge win. I say good for Steve. I say shame on those who attacked him and everything else. You say he doesn't have the right to reject a subpoena. Look what Bill and Hillary did. I mean, they basically just manipulated their own special privileged testimony, different from the rest of us. No accountability for them, see? Fifth generation warfare, folks. I repeat this phrase over and over because I believe that's what's going on here. Okay, if it's the Democrats that want to avoid court, no problem, no harm, no foul. They can manipulate and play games and deny and delay and pretty much call their own terms. Look at this Eric Swalwell guy now. I mean, he was involved in a sexual tryst with some weird Chinese feng, whatever. No accountability. Now there's all kinds of allegations about him abusing women. Where's the Me Too movement now when it comes to Swalwell? Anyway, is this guy going to have to step down and resign for it? No, it seems like he just gets more mojo by the day, right? I don't know how to respond to all this. But we're being manipulated till the cows come home, ladies and gentlemen, like you would not believe. It's a sad tale to tell. All right, I want to talk about Florida, though, Ron DeSantis and company. In Florida, a year after Governor Ron DeSantis promised, quote, tough immigration enforcement, the state of Florida made more arrests than any other state except for one. Can you guess what it is? This is based on 2025 numbers, I might add. That's right. Ron DeSantis in Florida arrested more illegal aliens than any other state except for, everything's bigger in Texas. Except for Texas, ladies and gentlemen. So Florida and Texas taking the lead on illegal immigration. However, some Republican sheriffs now are backing off. They're questioning the policy, worrying about the impact on what they call non-criminal immigrants. And, this is a very interesting topic. At a state immigration enforcement council meeting, concerns were raised about what they call overly broad enforcement affecting community members. Nationwide, other regions are reducing aggressive immigration tactics in contrast to Florida's approach. In Florida, the Miami, it's not Miami Vice, ladies and gentlemen. It's Miami ICE. Just saying. The Miami ICE office reported nearly 10,000 arrests this year alone. Now, I assume that's 2025 because that's what the data's from, but it might be 2026. I'm pretty sure it's 25, though. The state also cooperated closely with federal agencies, resulting in about 20,000 arrests by state and local in 2025. Okay, so there's 20,000 in 2025, 10,000 already this year. DeSantis has rejected any legal paths for non-criminal immigrants. Now, that's interesting because I think that we need to think about this from a justice and a mercy plan. I really wish that the immigration folks, ICE, had called me before they went with this effort. I support the effort to rid our country of hardened, criminal, illegal thugs. Okay? We need to take action and we need justice, big-time justice. At the same time, there's a lot of people here who, they're not perfect. Yes, they are criminal if they're in the country illegally because they've broken laws, right? But there's a difference between wanting a better life and coming here and not obeying the law because, well, the president, Barack Hussein Obama, kind of invited you to come and said you'd get all kinds of freebies for coming, and so you do. I hardly hold you at fault for that. You're kind of thinking, what do I do? The place where I live is just full of crime and abuse and struggle and desperation and no opportunities for success. And then Barack Hussein's offering me a deal. If I just join this migrant train and roll to America, I'm going to get amnesty and protection and a better life. And you can't blame a lot of these people. That's the mercy side of the discussion. Yeah, hardcore justice for thug criminals. No doubt, baby. No doubt. Bring it on. But at the same time, step back and say, when do people just want a better life? How do you judge that? How do you separate the criminals from the not so bad guys? Meanwhile, logistics are an issue. Jails are overwhelmed. Sometimes holding detainees longer than ICE allows. Then judicial intervention starts to happen. The state, in its efforts with what they call Alligator Alcatraz, has faced scrutiny with costs exceeding $1 million daily. And there's delays in federal reimbursement. Well, the feds are out of money, folks. I don't know if you know that. We're $38 trillion in debt, baby, and we're funding the war like you would not believe. So I don't know if we have money for a little old Alligator Alcatraz over there, you see. Anyway, it's a very serious issue, folks. And I pray for a justice/mercy plan. I actually wrote one, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't like to be the guy that criticizes everybody and then doesn't come up with a plan of my own. You know, when you criticize people too hard, people should just look at you and go, well, what do you recommend? My response would be, glad you asked. I recommend the justice/mercy plan patterned after the Prince of Peace. His name is Jesus Christ. And that's who we honor in this country above all, even government. Remember that, right? And so I think that we ought to have absolute hardcore justice for the hardened criminal. But I think there ought to be a way forward for everybody else. That way forward does not mean amnesty. It does not mean pull a Ronald Reagan. No. Reagan was a great guy, but in my opinion, he stumbled. He set a bad precedence for the United States. Don't reward people with amnesty. But there are ways to penalize them. There are ways to give them incentives to leave the country and get in line. There are ways to penalize them and make them pay. But the stronger presence they have in America of peace, meaning they've worked the job, they're willing to surface on their own. Okay? So one of the things you do is you just say, we need you to come and register. We need you to surface. We need you to bring yourself to the... If you do that, it goes a long way towards a peaceful resolution for you. No criminal record and you surface yourself, then there's ways forward for you and your family. That's the mercy plan. Anyway, I wrote a whole plan about this, ladies and gentlemen. And so if people want to ask me, or if they, Sam, you think it's too simple. No, I don't. I know it's very complicated. But I know it starts with a one-size-does-not-fit-all plan. Right? All right, I want to talk about President Trump. He introduced new small business loan guarantees for farmers and others. We'll talk about this because the war is making it hard for almost everybody to make a living. Yeah, sad but true. All right, thanks for being alongside with the ride. I'm Sam Bushman. Next time, check it out. Hard-hitting talk always at LibertyRoundTable.com, LibertyNewsRadio.com, Rumble, Twitter, Truth Social. I'm just getting started, right? God save our constitutional republic.